Hi, I'm Jim with Strictly on Security, and today we're going to be talking about credit card skimming. Now, the term credit or debit card skimming refers to when somebody takes a legitimate credit card and makes a copy of that credit card without the owner's consent. Oftentimes, this takes place when you're at a bar or a restaurant where an employee will come up and they'll give you the bill, you pull out your card and you hand it to them. They take your card and they walk away. A couple minutes later, they come back, hand you your card, hand you the bill, you sign the receipt, and you're good to go. The problem is you don't know what's been taking place with that card while the employee was away with it. There's both high and low-tech ways that criminals can capture the data on your credit card through skimming. The low-tech way is where they just take your card, walk away, look at it, and start writing the information down. You know, they get the name, they get the account number, they get the expiration date. They can flip the card over, and on the back they'll have that card security code. It's generally 3 digits. They can write that down, or maybe on the front it's 4 digits, depending on what kind of credit card you have. They can also take out their camera phone and just take a picture of your card, front and back, and again record all that information. A more high-tech way of doing it is to actually have a little small handheld device, which is a little skimmer. And basically they can take the credit card and slide that through the device, and that'll record all the information off of that card, again giving them everything they need. Many times the criminals are going to choose to go with the handheld device. And there is some limitations to that for them, but on the other hand, it's much easier. And that's because if they're in a public place and they walk away with your credit card and people can see them, they start writing down the information about your card, someone's probably going to notice and say something. On the other hand, if they have a small device in their hand, they can walk up to the register, slide your card through like they're supposed to be charging you, and then while they're standing there, just slide it through their hand, put that back in their pocket, and no one's even going to notice that they just did it. They walk back, hand you your card, and as far as you're concerned, nothing took place. The limitation for them is that they're not going to be able to record as much information. When you slide it through the little device, all they're going to get is your name, account number, and expiration date. The main thing they don't get is that 3-digit security code that's on the back of your card or the 4-digit security code on the front of your card. What that means to a criminal is that they cannot do online shopping. Because if you've ever gone and done online shopping, you know that part of the checkout says, hey, we want your account number, we want your name, we want your expiration, and then they always ask for that 3-digit or 4-digit code. Without that code, you cannot make the purchase online. So it does limit what the criminal can do. So let's first assume that the criminal had the opportunity to take your card and walk into a back room and truly just take a picture. So now they got a picture of the front of your card, they got a picture of the back of your card, and they go home with that. Well, what the criminal is going to do is they're going to hop online and they're going to start buying some big ticket items, generally speaking, or at least decent sized ticket items, a lot of electronics, things like that that they can then resell on eBay and places like that. And just like that, they're ripping you off, and it could happen within hours of you making your purchase at that particular location. Now let's assume that the criminal didn't have the ability to go in the back room with your card. So instead they have to actually use the little device and slide it through. So the criminal takes it, they record your information on their little device reader, and they give the card back to you. Now they go home. Well, all they have is information. They don't have your credit card, so what do? Well, criminals are pretty resourceful. What they'll do is they'll take a hotel room key. If you've ever noticed on the back of a hotel room key, it has a little black strip, just like on your credit card. What they can do is they can actually copy the information that they recorded onto that little strip on your hotel room key. So now they take that hotel room key and they can go shopping. And people go, well, shouldn't somebody notice if they're shopping with a hotel room key? And well, you'd think so. The reality is no. And that's because more and more merchants are actually putting the little device out there where you can get to it and you slide the card through yourself. So you go, well, shouldn't they ask for ID? Check out sometime. How many retailers actually ask for your ID? Maybe half of them do. The other half don't. So criminals just go to the stores where they don't ask for ID. And it's pretty simple. So they walk in, they make their purchase. When the person's ringing them up, they slide their little hotel room key through the machine that's sitting in front of them, put it back in their pocket. The merchant never sees what they paid with. They're not even paying attention to that. And they walk out with the stuff. It's really that simple. So how do you protect yourself from skimming attacks? Well, unfortunately, it's tough. And the main reason is because you're going to be giving people your credit card. And when they take it away, you're not going to know what they're doing with it. And that's the reality of it. So what you need to do is you need to limit the amount of risk, the amount of exposure you're going to set yourself up for. First thing you can do, that's a really simple thing, but it really adds a ton of security. Take your debit card or your credit card and find that 3-digit security code or the 4-digit code if it's on the front. Memorize that code. It's 3 or 4 digits, shouldn't be hard to memorize. As soon as you have it memorized, take an X-Acto blade or knife or anything sharp and scratch that code right off the card. Once that code's gone, you've just greatly reduced your amount of risk, because now if a criminal gets their hands on your credit card and they're looking at it, All they can get your account number, your expiration date, and your name. This means they don't have enough information to do any kind of online shopping. Since online shopping is a heck of a lot easier for criminals to do than physically going into a location, there's a lot more attacks that are happening online. You've just eliminated one of the major types of attacks that are taking place and greatly reduced your risk. Next, make sure when you receive your card statement that you look at every line item on that statement. A lot of times criminals will be smart and they'll only charge small items. And the idea being that if they charge just little $20, $30 items here and there, you might not notice them if you're charging lots of larger items on your statement every month. So therefore, they can continue to use this card over and over and over for a much longer period of time. If you see any items on that statement that you don't recognize, immediately pick up the phone and call your card provider and say, hey, I don't know what this is. What is it? And have them start looking into it, because it's that one little item that you might not recognize that could truly be a criminal using your card. Another really helpful tip is to remember that you should choose one card to be your risky card. And what I mean by that is pick the card that when you go out to restaurants, or when you go to bars, or when you go wherever and you're going to give that card to somebody and they're going to walk away with it, that'll be the card you use for all of that. Then on that card, set up notifications. Most of the providers out there are going to allow you to set up some sort of a notification alert system. So if there's a charge over a certain amount, you get an email or a text message. Or if the balance hits a certain level, you get an email or a text message. This way, if some sort of shady business is going on your card, you're going to get notified about it and you can start working on it right away, as opposed to finding out at the end of the month when a lot of damage has already been done. Now, I've heard debate from time to time over which is more secure, a debit card or a credit card. And just so you know the difference, a credit card is used and you're going to pay at the end of the month. So if it charges $100 on there, at the end of the month you're going to see the bill and you're going to send in $100 to pay it. A debit card is pulling money directly out of your bank account. So if, for example, a criminal were to steal your debit card and they go and charge off $100, that $100 has come out of your bank account immediately. So if you're somebody who's living on a very tight budget, college students are a perfect example of this, where every penny counts on any given day, having a debit card get stolen can be a problem for you, because that money's coming out of your account immediately. And so suddenly the $100 you thought you had so you could buy groceries is now gone. Now, of course, you're going to be able to contact the financial institution and work with them to resolve the problem. But even if that money is out of your account for just a short amount of time, that might be too long for you. So what you need to decide is, how much risk are you willing to accept and what's going to hurt you? If it's no big deal, if a couple $100 out of your account at a given time and you're not going to notice it, then a debit card is just as good as a credit card. On the other hand, if you are at risk and you can't be without even a penny in your account at any given time, you probably want to go with a credit card so you're not putting yourself at risk of having that money pulled out of your debit account. For the worldly traveler out there, if you're traveling abroad to another country, keep in mind that a large percentage of the skimming attacks do take place when people have traveled to other countries. And you've given that card out, and then when you get back, suddenly, lo and behold, someone's gone crazy on the card in another country. Be aware of this. The best thing you can do is choose one card and only one card, and use that card the entire time you're on the road. As soon as you get back, really scrutinize the bill and start paying attention to what happens on that bill for the next several months. Criminals are sometimes smart and won't use it the very first month they got it. They might wait 3 or 4 months before they start using it. So really keep an eye on that particular statement and make sure nothing suspicious shows up. Of course, if something does, notify the financial institution so they can start dealing with it right away. In the event that you do become a victim of skimming and someone has stolen your credit card, the best thing you can do is notify your financial institution as soon as possible. And again, this is where staying diligent really matters. You don't want to find out 3 months from now that for the last 3 months somebody's been using your card. You want to find out immediately, or at least that first statement that comes in, so you can let the financial institution know. They deal with this stuff all the time and they're great to work with, but you've got to let them know what's going on. So to recap, credit and debit card skimming happens every day, and you can't guarantee you won't be a victim. That said, you can do some things to greatly reduce your risk. Remember, the first thing you want to do is look at that debit or credit card and memorize that security code, so that 3-digit or 4-digit code on the card. As soon as you memorize it, scratch it off the card. You also want to make sure that you're scrutinizing that statement that comes to you each month. Select one card to be your risky card, and your risky card should be the card you're going to use when you go to bars or restaurants or places where you're going to hand out that card and someone's going to walk away with it. Once you have your selected card, then make sure you go ahead and put notifications on that card. Just as importantly, you need to choose, do you want to use a debit card or a credit card? And for those of you who are lucky enough to be traveling in other countries right now and enjoying a nice vacation, remember, a lot of skimming attacks start while you're traveling abroad. As always, spend a little time, do a little research, and protect yourself so you don't become the next victim of identity theft. I'm Jim for Stickley on Security. Have a great day.